So that's, again, if we start with an understanding of the customer's habits and expectations, that changes how we, or that helps us optimize the way we do marketing. Okay. So search is research. A little bit more evidence for you here. We can now also, so now when people are actually searching online, there's all this activity that we can now go analyze. Right? So in this case, just very simplistic examples. These are search volume. Right, so how many times people type in that particular search, and these are comparing 3 COPD drugs, Spiriva, Advair, and Symbicort. So in this case, this little graph shows you, Advair has roughly 2 times the search volume as their 2 competitors, Spiriva and Symbicort. And it's a little hard to read on the right-hand side. These are Google Wonder Wheels. So when you go into Google, type in a search. On the left-hand side, there's something called More Tools. You'll see Wonder Wheels listed under there. These are the related searches. And this actually gives you some clues about what people are looking for when they type in that term. So when they type in Spiriva, they're looking for Spiriva side effects, dose, generic, and cost. Same thing for Advair. They're looking for Advair side effects, dosage, generic, and cost. So it kind of gives you a sense of what they're looking for. And related search is actually compiled by Google. So I'll give you a very simplistic example. It's kind of like when you go refine your search. So when I type in cancer, it gives me 300 million results. It's too broad. Right? Then I type in breast cancer. Oh, that's still too broad. Then I refine the search even more. So as people do that, and if enough people do that, then Google now can compile this wonder wheel of related searches. That tells you when they're typing in cancer, they're actually looking for breast cancer. When they type in breast cancer, they're actually looking for. So it kind of gives you a little bit of some insights and clues about what they're looking for. So these are tools that we can now use as research. Right? So we're going to start to study, what are the things people look for. And in this particular case, this is how to differentiate. This is an example of how to differentiate between doctor searching and patient searching. Right? The doctors are going to type in treatment of insomnia, whereas the patients are going to type in sleeping pills, right? Because that's how they describe it. And by checking the wonder wheels, we can kind of say, oh yeah, look at all the drug names associated with sleeping pills versus for treatment of insomnia, it's more around the treatment. So even though we can't say for 100% sure, we can say it's very likely that's going to be a doctor searching and this is going to be a patient searching. And the search volume corroborates that. Right? So we used a couple of tools to kind of corroborate each other for us to derive some insights from it. And this is another even more specific example, right? Orexin receptor antagonist. No patient's going to know to type that in, right? So that's an HCP. That's a doctor typing it in. In this case, we can actually show you how the search, related search changes over time, and that gives us a clue that they're actually learning something. So in this case, in January, we did a wonder wheel, and then we did the same term, a wonder wheel for that two months later. And you'll see, in this case, primary endpoint is associated with it. That tells you it's kind of making its way through clinical trials, whereas by March, treatment of insomnia is now associated with it. And that's actually a good thing, because this is the mechanism of action of a drug for the treatment of insomnia. So now this has to come from people actually typing in the search and then refining their search. So what this tells us is that people read it, they remembered it, they understood it, and now they understand this mechanism of action to be associated with treatment of insomnia. So that's a good thing. Right? So now we can say people have kind of learned over time and we have evidence for it. Right? So that's how we're starting to use search as research. And this is one more quick example where we had 2 very similar terms, right? Blood analysis versus blood analyzer. And we had 2 competitors, Abbott and Epoch, making these handheld devices. So which one was the better term? So if you look at just the search volume, you'll say, oh, blood analysis is bigger, so let's use that. Right? But not so fast. You have to cross-check that with the wonder wheels. And what you'll see is that in the wonder wheels, it's really about the field of blood analysis, blood chemistry, whereas blood analyzer is really people looking for the devices. And so if you're Abbott and trying to sell the device, which one's a better term? It's actually blood analyzer. Even though it has lower search volume, it's the better target audience for you. And so they actually chose that. So when they did blood analyzer, that has a huge effect because now they're in position 8, which means they're on page 1, versus position 49, which means they're on page 5. And remember of Google search results. So remember the eye tracking study? If you're not on page 1, they're not going to go to page 5 to find you. So in this case, the choice of the word actually makes a huge difference, whether you're found or not.